Hello, my name is Whitney, and I work for the Adult Services Department at Columbus Public Library. This is the first video in a series where we will share information on events, stories, and maybe even debunk or prove a tall tale or two about Columbus, Georgia and the surrounding areas. Our first event is known as the Con T. Kennedy Circus Crash, which happened on November 22, 1915, when a passenger train leaving Columbus collided with a train containing circus employees and animals. Each train was traveling at about 30 miles an hour, and the collision was horrific. The picture you see here is of the crash, and it is located inside of Columbus State University's archive. The passenger train was made of metal, so the damage to it was nowhere near as bad as the wooden circus train, which was quickly engulfed in flames. Many of the passengers of the circus train were trapped and burned alive as their circus companions tried their best to rescue them. Soon after the wreck, local Columbus residents arrived to assist in rescue attempts. The next couple of slides will have newspaper articles, so feel free to pause the video at any time if you'd like to read them in their entirety. Over 50 people were said to be injured, most consisting of burns, broken bones, and internal injuries. The death total is unknown because of the nature of the incident, but at least 18 circus workers perished. Due to the nature of circus life at the time, many of the entertainers were social outsiders or outcasts who went by nicknames, and their legal names were unknown. Some of the performers or workers were working with a traveling circus temporarily. Because of these two issues, many bodies were unable to be identified. Two of the dead were Fred and Blanche Kempf, the parents of Hazel Kempf, who was rescued and now orphaned. Hazel became known nationally because of the incident, where people from around the country offered to adopt her. Hazel eventually went to acting school and had roles on stage, and she served on the board for the New York Screen Actors Guild. You can read more about Hazel and her parents in an article written by Richard Hyatt entitled Circus Wreck. 100 years ago, a fiery rail crash destroyed a circus and gave Columbus a tiny hero. A link to the article is shown here. For even further reading on Hazel Kempf, we have Legends and Lore of Columbus, Georgia by Faith Seraphin available for checkout. In this book, her life after the incident is explained, as well as how the city of Columbus came together after the incident. The wreck made national news, featured here in the Alexandria Gazette out of Alexandria, Virginia, where it is mentioned that a lion escaped and remained at large. The Tulsa Daily, located in Tulsa, Oklahoma, mentioned that the Kempfs had many friends in the area. The Washington Herald in Washington, D.C., stated that animals were a large portion of the circus, and most perished in this collision. Once national news picked up the story, 23 telegrams were received by the local police departments, where people were looking for missing family members they believed to be on the train. An additional 3 written letters were received, as well as 2 long-distance phone calls, which were a much bigger deal in 1915. In 2020, we have no use for telegrams, but before emails, telegrams and phone calls were it. Long-distance phone calls could be expensive, and telegrams were much more affordable and accessible. Here are several of the telegrams received related to the incident. This one from Ithaca, New York, was addressed to the chief of police and says, "Please advise James H. Dunleavy, in charge of Filipino Twins, Kennedy Carnival Company injured. Wire at my expense. Robert Dunleavy." Another from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, asks, "Was Isaac Friedman killed or hurt in Con T. Kennedy wreck? Wrestler, age 19, 6 feet 2 inches, 245 pounds, light complexion. Joseph P. Thompson." From Vancouver, British Columbia, to the Chief of Police, "Afraid daughter is in Con T. Kennedy train wreck. Please inquire. Name, Hilda Hilton. Age 24, very fair. Please reply soon as possible. Collect. Mother." 23 telegrams much like these were received, families pleading for identification of those involved. There was a mass funeral service held at Columbus's First Baptist Church for those killed in the crash, which was attended by thousands of people. Afterwards, there was a funeral procession to Riverdale Cemetery, where local Columbus and Phoenix City residents showed some compassion by lending instruments to the carnival band for the ceremony. The gravesite can be found at Riverdale Cemetery, its marker in the shape of a circus tent engraved with the following inscription: "We'll not forget thee, we who stay to work a little longer here. Thy name, thy faith, thy love shall be on memory's tablet bright and clear. And when o'erwearied by the toil of life our heavy limbs shall be, we'll come and one by one lie down upon dear Mother Earth with thee." After this horrific tragedy, according to the article written by Richard Hyatt, Con T. Kennedy continued touring, starting with a show in Albany and then in Jacksonville, Florida, where he ended his season for the year. At this time, I'd like to thank Columbus State University's archive for allowing us to utilize one of their historical pictures. A link to their website and collections can be found here. I'd also like to thank Richard Hyatt for his article published in the Ledger-Inquirer on the event that's found at the link below. And I also encourage you to go view the memorial at Riverdale Cemetery, as well as the other historical markers there. Here's a link to their website for more information. If you're a local history buff and you know of something you'd like featured on the Unknown Columbus, Georgia series, please give us a call at 706-243-2681 and ask for me, Whitney. Thanks for tuning in.